You doom scroll, compare, feel that sting of self-doubt. What if that voice isn't yours? For 600 years, gatekeepers hid Nag Hammadi texts, post-resurrection dialogues where Jesus reveals to Mary how the soul sees through the mind awake versus asleep. If you uncover this, you can reclaim the mind and choose a truer path. Will you hear their secret conversation now? Ancient truth shatters all modern illusions. What if the nagging voice in your head isn't yours at all? You doom scroll, compare, and feel that quick sting of self-doubt. But what if those words arrived already written for you? In the last section, we felt the unease. Now you discover a shock. Ancient dialogues between the risen Jesus and Mary treat the mind like two ways of seeing, awake or sleepwalking. And they give you a key to spot which voice is original and which is borrowed. The main idea is simple. Some teachings show that thoughts can be implanted, not produced. Think of your mind like a radio. When you tune in, you expect your station, your real voice. But a hidden transmitter can bleed in a foreign signal. Here's what that means. In the Gospel of Mary and other Nag Hammadi writings, Jesus reveals secret teachings to Mary after the resurrection. Mary is shown as the one who completely understands, the wise psyche who sees through illusion. These texts, hidden for roughly 600 years and only resurfaced in 1945, teach that waking up is a different kind of hearing. You begin to see that inner chatter can be a signal you didn't generate. Think of the dialogue of the Savior. It's a question and answer map, a training manual for learning to tell your own mind apart from borrowed scripts. This matters for you every day. When you scroll and a thought arrives, you'll fail. You're not enough. They're better. You need a test. Pause. Ask, did I make this thought or did I catch it? You will notice patterns: automatic shame after an ad, instant comparison after a scroll, panic when a notification pings. These are the fingerprints of an inserted voice. The ancient texts show you what to look for: visions, inner clarity, and a teacher who points to the light behind the words. Jesus gives Mary advanced teaching about inner mysteries, not doctrine but tools to recognize the source of thought. You feel the recognition. You discover how some thoughts lower your energy, chain your attention, and keep you looking outward. You realize the cost: live thinking you alone chose your story, or learn to reclaim the choice. If you ignore this, you stay moved by scripts that never served you. If you learn it, you begin to break free. The stakes are real. For 2,000 years, seekers have risked exile and accusation to pass down methods of inner seeing. You can start small, notice one intrusive thought today, and trace where it came from. You will recognize the pattern, and then you remember that your attention is your power. You begin to see the difference between being led and choosing. Next, we expose the exact mechanism these texts point to, the way borrowed thoughts hijack perception, and how the resurrected dialogue hands you a practical test. Prepare to learn the step-by-step method the early teachers used to pull minds back to their own light. They told you the enemy was outside, armies, laws, priests. But what if the trap lives inside the way your mind pictures the world? For 20 years, the map of the mind slipped from sight. In the Nag Hammadi texts and in the Gospel of Mary, Jesus names a hidden ecology: desire, ignorance, wrath, that seed moods and images into your consciousness. Today you discover how that inner weather shapes what you call me, and why this map vanished for centuries. The real captors aren't masked foes, they're the smudges on the glass you mistake for reality. The core idea is simple, and shocking: control comes as suggestion, not chains. Think of your mind as a clear window. The archons aren't burglars, they are dirt on the glass. They plant hunger, fear, a forgetful fog. It's like static on a radio station. You hear a voice and assume it's your thought. The voice says, "You aren't enough," or "Chase this, that will fix you," and you follow. The dialogues of the Savior and Pistis Sophia describe these powers, feeding images into the soul, steering attention through fear and craving. In the Gospel of Mary, Jesus gives Mary the inner mysteries, how these impressions are not the true self but traps to keep the soul asleep. You begin to see the pattern: the enemy impersonates you. Here's what this means for you right now. When a sudden wave of shame or craving hits, you feel it as you, but you can learn to recognize it as an implanted weather pattern instead. You feel a rumor of anger on your tongue after a comment online. Notice where that came from. You crave approval after a scroll. Ask who benefits from your hunger. These are everyday archonic interferences. If you never name it, you hand over your attention and energy. If you name it, you reclaim both. You begin to see the difference between the still center in you and the passing moods that pretend to be you. You feel relief, you recognize freedom, and you can begin to withdraw your power from the things that feed on you. For 20 years, some kept the map hidden, not always to hoard power, but to protect it until the right time, as Jungian readings and scholars of the Gnostics suggest. Ancient texts reveal that secrecy was survival. Nag Hammadi codices, hidden for centuries, reappear to offer a radical lens on perception. The archons don't rule you by force, they rule you by shaping your inner weather. Today you can see how perception shapes reality. Modern science confirms that attention and emotion sculpt how you experience life. The Gnostics knew that the archons are parasites of perception, not rulers of fate. The path forward is not fighting the shadows, but recognizing the pattern that makes you follow. But there's something even more important. We will trace exactly how this erasure happened, who edited the story, what was lost to councils and conflations, and why reclaiming this map changes not only how you think, but how reality forms around you. Because once you see the bars of the invisible prison, they begin to dissolve. If you'd like to go deeper, a free ebook called Escaping the Illusion: A Gnostic Guide to Mastering Reality awaits. The link is below. What if the quiet moment after the resurrection holds the single secret that changes everything you think about soul power and authority? In the last section, we saw how hidden texts survived centuries of silence. Now imagine buried inside those jars and codices is a direct conversation. Jesus teaching Mary how the soul climbs past the powers that bind us. For 20 years, these threads have echoed with earlier whispers in the Berlin Codex and even the Askew Codex in the 1700s. What you discover there rewrites who gets to speak for the inner life. The main idea is simple. After the resurrection, Jesus gives Mary an initiation, a map for the soul to pass the powers. Think of it as climbing a locked tower. Each floor has a guard that asks questions, doubts, fears. If you answer from the old self, the gate stays closed. If you answer from the true inner witness, you pass. The Gospel of Mary shows Jesus revealing inner mysteries to Mary that the others don't hear. She's singled out, she receives a vision and teachings. Nag Hammadi preserves that question and answer style, where the Savior reveals revealed truth in direct form. This isn't abstract theology. It's step-by-step guidance for the ascent past the powers. Jungian and modern scholars even suggest these teachings were hidden on purpose, sealed until the right time so you could find them when you're ready. Here's what this means for you every day. You feel doubts, intrusive thoughts, sudden shame. Those are the guards in modern clothes. When Mary hears the Savior explain the ascent, you hear how to not feed those guards. You begin to see how a thought isn't always yours. You recognize a pattern: anger, distraction, craving. Each is a test. In practical terms, you can use a tiny practice from these texts. Pause when a strong thought arrives, ask silently, who is speaking? And return to the calm witness inside you. You reclaim energy the powers wanted to harvest. If you don't try this, you stay pulled by reactive loops, work, consumption, comparison, always answering the gatekeepers. If you do try it, you start a step past them moment by moment. You break the small habit that keeps you stuck for years. This is the daily map you can walk. For 20 years, ancient texts reveal how the inner guards operate as a psychic training ground. Modern science confirms that attention shapes experience. When you shift your focus, you shift your reality. You discover that the voice you hear inside is not always you. This isn't about chasing far-off miracles, it's about hearing the signal clearly and returning to the calm witness. You prepare for what comes next, how those powers move, how they work in social and psychic engines, not just as abstract forces. This leads to a deeper question: what would it mean to climb in a life where your attention becomes the only gate you guard? But there's something even more important. You'll soon see the exact moves Mary is taught to use and how to adapt them to today. Keep with this, because once you learn the map you begin to climb. You'll feel the pull of the next section where the powers reveal themselves as social and psychic engines, not demons, and you'll discover practical steps you can take in minutes a day to start passing the gates. If you want more, a deeper path opens, a path you can walk starting now. What if the voice behind your scrolling your snap replies your quiet self-doubt wasn't really yours? In the last section, we map the players. Desire, ignorance, wrath, slipping into your life like small thieves. Now the startling part. Over 20 years ago, a hidden conversation between Jesus and Mary shows exactly how those thieves operate and how you can stop them. You discover this not in the Bible everyone knows, but in the Nag Hammadi texts and the Gospel of Mary, where Jesus teaches secret inner practices to the awake. For clarity, the Nag Hammadi texts are a collection of early Christian and Gnostic writings discovered in Egypt. The Gospel of Mary is one of the surviving teachings that Mary understood more completely. By the end of this piece, you realize one simple practice you can start right now to reclaim your thoughts. The main idea is shockingly simple. Think of your mind like a radio tuned to 3 stations: desire, ignorance, and wrath. These stations broadcast constantly. In the Gnostic dialogue traditions, the Savior speaking in the Nag Hammadi writings and the vision Mary recounts, Jesus points out the same thing: people live asleep or awake. In the Gospel of Mary, he gives Mary hidden teachings because she can completely understand. The texts treat awakening as learning to notice which station is playing so you can switch the dial. Think of it like this: when you notice a song playing, you stop dancing to it automatically. That simple noticing is the core of the secret, teaching the resurrection dialogues hand to you. Here's what this means for you right now. When you're scrolling and you feel that hollow tug, that's desire's station. When you go through a meeting or conversation and suddenly realize you've been on autopilot, that's ignorance. When you fire off a hot reply and later regret it, that's wrath. You begin to see these as separate currents that borrow your energy. The dialogue of Jesus and Mary isn't abstract, it's practical. Mary doesn't gain power because she's special, she remembers because she notices. Start this pause, place your hand on your chest, take 3 slow breaths and name what you feel: desire, ignorance, or wrath. Don't argue with it. Watch it as if it's coming from outside. You begin to tell your thoughts from planted images. You reclaim authorship. If you stay unconscious, energy leaks into distraction and doubt. If you practice this noticing, you starve those stations and feed your inner clarity. This is a skill you can see yourself building today. You're not learning a new belief, you're building a muscle. You may notice this popping up in small moments. You pause before replying in a heated chat. You catch yourself scrolling at night and choosing to breathe instead. You feel a charge rise and you let it pass. You're gaining a sense of control you didn't know you could claim. This means for you that your energy isn't being siphoned by invisible thieves. You're reclaiming it here and now. You're not alone in this discovery. Ancient wisdom teaches that awakening comes from noticing and choosing what truly serves you. Modern science confirms that attention is scarce and precious, and pausing strengthens your control. This leads to a deeper question: if the dial is in your hands, what will you tune into next? You'll see how to deepen this practice in the next section. A short daily ritual rooted in the same secret wisdom Mary received after the resurrection. You discover how to build that muscle, and why it changes not just your mood but the very choices you make. For 20 years, these teachings have waited for you to try them. Today you can begin. You realize this isn't just theology, it's a practical toolkit you can use today. For 20 years, secret teachings hid real moves in plain sight, tucked into the Gospel of Mary and the tradition that preserved Nag Hammadi texts. You discover them now, and you'll feel something shift: a method you can apply, and a 7-day rhythm you can follow to own your mind. The main idea is simple: your attention is the treasure. Think of it like a lantern you carry through a dark room. When a thought, fear, or craving grabs the lantern, you stumble. The liberation method gives you 5 moves you can trust. Step 1: witness. Notice the next thought without merging. Step 2. Name the power. Label it desire, ignorance, or wrath so it loses its mystery. Step 3. Reverse the gaze. See how the thought is trying to use you instead of arguing with it. Step 4. Seal attention. Return to steady breath and heart. Anchor the lantern. Step 5. Choose a truer act. The Gospel of Mary isn't just poetry, it shows a practice. Where the mind is, there is the treasure. Isn't a pretty line, it's instruction. The Gnostic dialogues preserved at Nag Hammadi reveal a savior handing secret practical teachings to those ready to receive them. This isn't metaphysics, this is training in attention. Here, what this means for you right now. You feel a panic thought at work, witness it. You sense jealousy on social media, name it desire. You catch anger rising in traffic, reverse the gaze and see how the emotion is steering you. Practically do 2 5-minute sessions a day, one in the morning and one at night, simply sitting watching thoughts and returning to breath and heart. Then, when you're triggered, do a quick interception, notice the thought, name the power, breathe 3 times, and pick one concrete, kinder next action. With 7 days of this rhythm, you begin to see patterns instead of being swept by them. You discover your perception stabilizes. You break free from reactive cycles, and you remember that the lantern is yours. If you keep this up, your attention stops being a bargaining chip in someone else's game. You start living from choice, not autopilot. For 20 years, ancient communities kept these methods hidden until the moment you could use them. But now you can see how Mary's private teaching scales. With a single person's steady lantern, you can begin to shift the patterns in a group. This leads to a deeper question: what happens when many lanterns are kept steady at once? You're already feeling that pull towards something larger. If you'd like to go even deeper, I've created a free ebook called Escaping the Illusion: A Gnostic Guide to Mastering Reality. It explores these ideas further and gives you practical tools for breaking free from iconic influence. You'll find the link in the description. The archons don't rule you with chains. They rule you with forgetfulness, with the stories you were given, with the thoughts you never questioned. Today you've seen the game. Tomorrow you can begin to break it. You're here because you remember something you can't quite name, and that remembering is your power. What if the loudest voices in your life aren't really yours? You realize after the storm of the cross, Jesus handed Mary a secret that lets you stop living by other people's scripts. In the last section, we followed the empty tomb. Now you discover the private exchange that rewrites authority itself. Today, you'll hear the one idea that turns noise into a tool you control, and it changes everything you do right now. The core concept is simple. Jesus gives Mary inner teaching, a practice of inner authorship that makes you the author of your own life. Think of it like switching from a public radio station that plays other people's fears to tuning into your own internal transmitter. For 20 years, the Gospels and the Nag Hammadi writings show a model where revelation is a live, ongoing dialogue, not a one-time message. These texts, hidden for centuries, buried until Nag Hammadi in 1945, yet rooted in a message 20 years old, reveal a practice where you notice the thought, name the voice, choose the answer. This isn't abstract theology. It's a technique. You notice the thought, you name the voice, you choose the reply. Picture your mind as a crowded room. Mary's teaching is the skill of stepping to the center and speaking first. This is why the Gnostics honor Mary as Sophia, wisdom in action, who receives and then teaches others to remember. Here's what this means for you. When you feel a spike of anger, you don't have to be swept away. When doubt arrives in the middle of a decision, you can put it on pause and ask, who is speaking? You begin to see intrusive thoughts as passing messengers, not commands. Practically, the next time you notice a reactive impulse, breathe, name it, and say aloud the alternative you choose. Do this 3 times and you reclaim energy you would otherwise spend. You'll notice fewer reactive spikes, clearer choices, and a steady sense that you are shaping your story, durable inner authorship that outside noise cannot counterfeit. You recognize the difference between being pulled and choosing, and you begin to feel the quiet authority Mary models. This is the change you experience. You feel calmer, you decide cleaner, you remember you are the source of your next move. If one thing matters now, it's practice. Today, intercept one power, one recurring thought that steals your calm, and write it in the comments. Which power did you intercept? You'll start to see a pattern, and you'll learn to interrupt it before it interrupts you. You see, for ancient wisdom to work in your life, you must show up. This leads to a deeper question you'll meet in the next chapter. How does the inner dialogue you learn today rewire your outer world tomorrow? By recognizing the habit of inner authorship, you begin to write a new chapter, where you are the author, not the audience. If you'd like to go even deeper into these hidden teachings, I've created a free ebook called Escaping the Illusion: A Gnostic Guide to Mastering Reality. It explores these ideas further and gives you practical tools for breaking free from iconic influence. You'll find the link in the description. The Gnostics knew this. Nag Hammadi texts show this. Ancient wisdom teaches this. Hidden knowledge reveals it. Your attention is your power, and your power is sovereign. So ask yourself, if every thought isn't truly yours, then who are you beneath the noise? Because once you begin remembering, once you step beyond the illusions, the real journey begins. Subscribe to stay with us as we go line by line through Mary's ascent, uncovering the exact phrases and moves she has taught. Today you can begin. Ancient truth only transforms modern life when you practice it today. Live the dialogue, not the noise.